of all countries of the world and higher percentages on partner countries declaring a trade war on the world with the highest import taxes in a century, all under the pretext of industrializing his country. During his speech, the U.S. president demonized the entire planet, blaming foreign nations for the crisis in the quality of life, services, and production that the U.S. is experiencing. In addition, Trump described instruments such as the free trade agreement with Mexico and Canada as a disaster, while maintaining the narrative of criminalizing migrants using the extinct Tren de Aragua. These announcements represent the biggest rollback of free trade in 2 centuries, representing a major change in global trade and economic policy.
Cabello highlighted that this flight 1,610 Venezuelans have already returned to the country under the Return to the Homeland Plan.
It is a flight that, with this one, 1,610 Venezuelans have been transferred from the United States, because those who are in Mexico are not really in Mexico. They returned from the United States to Mexico, and we have been doing that work, and we hope to see the regularization. As of last week, they have already started to regularize. There is a flight today from Mexico, then there is a flight where we are going to take the comrades in Honduras directly from the United States to Honduras, and tomorrow morning, as the president announced, there will be a direct flight from the United States. The Return to the Homeland Plan, a policy of the Venezuelan state so that the Venezuelan citizens, wherever they are, can return to our country with the guarantees of a state that takes care of them, with the guarantees of a state that reviews each case individually and in a particular way.
Cabello demanded El Salvador to return the kidnapped Venezuelans.
We continue to demand, from here in Venezuela, raising our voices, demanding that the government of El Salvador, which has kidnapped, the government of El Salvador, of Mr. Nayib Bukele, that has kidnapped the Venezuelans, return us our children, the children that you and the government of the United States had kidnapped there, in an arbitrary manner. They have not committed any crime in El Salvador. Not a single crime. They cannot be judged in El Salvador because they have not committed any crime in El Salvador, and, if they committed a crime in the United States, it is up to the government of the United States to judge them, to submit them to the justice of the United States. It is the arbitrariness of those who assume themselves to be the owners of the world.
In turn, the Minister of Transportation emphasized that the Administrative Service of Identification, Migration and Foreigners of Venezuela was in charge of verifying that all those included in the list were Venezuelans, pointing out that none of those repatriated belongs to the extinct Tren de Aragua.
However, we must also clarify, according to the analysis, because, before boarding all these returnees, there were personnel from the Administrative Service of Identification, Migration and Foreigners, who checked one by one, with their fingerprint, to verify first of all that they are Venezuelan citizens, and none, according to the list of returnees that we are about to receive, none belong to the notorious Tren de Aragua. Today, more than ever, we are committed to the return of our Venezuelan men and women to the country, and here there is a group of institutions that respond to a single guideline, to receive our nationals, to give them the humane treatment, to treat them as citizens of this great homeland, which will allow them, once they arrive here in their territory, to be able to rejoin the community, the country, the public activities and the private activities of each one of them.
On Thursday, 198 Venezuelan migrants arrived in the country as part of the Back to the Homeland Plan. With this flight, there are now more than 1,800 Venezuelan nationals that have returned in 2025 through the humanitarian plan that provides dignity and security. This is the second flight of migrants arriving in the country on Thursday, coming from Texas, and had a stopover in Honduras. 12 women and 186 men arrived on this flight. It is known that migrants will go through a process of criminal and medical check and then be taken home directly. Let us remember that these migrants who are returned to the country in the last few weeks have been victims of the fascist plans of the U.S. government, which is developing a plan of persecution and kidnapping against Venezuelans who are on U.S. soil.
U.S. President Donald Trump announced that he will